So we're starting a little differently this week, guys, with some advice and a message of hope. If you ever feel like you're bad at adulting, or you have those embarrassing memories that keep you from sleeping at 3 o'clock in the morning, or you've ever done something stupid to win the heart of somebody you liked, don't worry, take a breath and head on over to Icardi's Instagram. It really does do wonders for the self-esteem. Welcome to the Anglo-Italian pod, guys. As always, my name is Rory, and I'm joined by my good friend
Tommy. Welcome, guys. We are going to cover all of that story very soon, but cope with me as I plug you to our different social media profiles. Give us a follow on Twitter at Italian Anglopod, on Instagram at Anglo-Italian Pod, and why don't you also follow our sponsor, at the Sports Club Maps? You can find them both on Twitter and on Instagram. Rory, before we dive into the Wanda Mauro business, how have you been?
I've been good. I have been pretty good. Another week down. I found out that we get a Monday off in a few weeks, which is nice for All Saints Day. My students told me, and I was like, whew, 3-day weekend. So that was a nice little boost.
And that's also the day after my birthday, so it means that we can go hard on my birthday
Man,
night.
that's perfect. Oh my God, it's all falling into place.
It's always been like that for me, man. Every year, the day after my birthday, I can rest in bed hungover and nobody's bothering me because it's a national holiday. Are you going to ask me?
Wow, I tell you, that is such a gift from God. I love that.
I know, yeah. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. Since you're asking me, I've been good.
Oh, sorry,
well.
Tommy. And how are you? I'm really bad at this conversation, Milan.
Guys,
how are you, Tommy?
My voice is just recovering from a crazy Tuesday night at the San Siro. It was so much fun. We're going to talk about it later. We were there watching Inter Sheriff. Quite a lot of banter, quite a lot of embarrassing moments. But in the end, I think we'll tell you more later. But the first thing that we need to discuss is everything that is going on between Wanda Nara and Mauro Icardi. And ladies and gentlemen, I've got some intel. It's not as hot as you might imagine, but let's say that I know a person that I may work with, and they may be above me as a position in the workplace, but they personally know one of the two people involved. And I got to know that basically this whole breakup thing is a big overreaction from Wanda Nara. Would you ever guess that she's the type of woman that overreacts, Rory?
No, I tell you what, there was no part of me that thought that this would all be an overreaction from Wanda. Who could have guessed it? Look, I think both of them probably thrive off the drama. I think they both need the drama, right?
Especially Wanda. I think Wanda lives for the drama. Well, what I heard was basically that what I was told is that Icardi was flirting a little bit with this Argentinian model. He's a married man with a family, but she told him, I would like to meet up with you in a place where people don't recognize you. I don't know what Mauro Icardi texted back, but apparently Wanda Nara got his husband's phone. It's one of those happy couples that have to steal each other's phone. She read these messages. She packed their bags, got the kids, flew back to Milan, proceeded to remove, and this is so childish. Yeah. Proceeded to remove all of the Instagram pictures that she had with her husband, Mauro Icardi, which, by the way, are over 1,000 pictures. So whoever did that, whoever is managing her social media accounts.
That poor employee having to, for hours, just right-click, delete, right-click, delete, right-click, delete for like 5 hours. Fucking hell.
And then Mauro, I'll let you tell what Mauro Icardi did, which is even more childish, I think.
This is like, honestly, and when I saw it, I was like, oh, you have like, I kind of referenced at the beginning, you have those embarrassing things that you've like, in front of people, you've said something to somebody you liked, or you're like, oh God, like, and it just, that memory stays with you. Now imagine being world famous and everybody can watch you do that kind of pathetic or stupid thing. Well, Mauro has stepped up and he has removed everyone he follows except Wanda.
Now, this is the thing. Like, dude I know in 2021 you cannot say these things, but I'm gonna say it anyways because I feel like
God,
Mauro
where's this
Icardi
going? Right,
grow
right.
some fucking balls, dude.
Yeah.
You know that you are not in the wrong. You were flirting with somebody, and you shouldn't do it as a married man. But if you haven't cheated on her, why are you acting like an absolute puppy? Like she's calling you, she's sending you a message, and you're obeying right away, wiggling your tail, like removing everybody you follow. It's only her, and every day he's been posting pictures with ridiculous romantic love songs from Argentina. Writing shit like you're the only woman I've ever loved, I want to be with you forever, and all that type of crap, while Wanda Nara seems to be moving on and minding her own business. But
I would also,
thing,
I don't know, we're not getting into like a relationship part, but I would also say that like
it's great though,
Christ,
guys. You have to admit it's great. It's fucking great. But the best thing about everything, about all this story, is Maxi Lopez, Wanda Nara's ex-husband, who was cheated. He claims he was cheated on by Wanda Nara with Icardi, and he accused often Icardi of sort of kidnapping his kids. He simply posted a poolside selfie with a question for his followers. Does karma exist? Yes or no? And to see the level of engagement, 99% of people answered, yes, it does. I'm just like, right, guys, I promise this is over. This bit is over.
We're done. No
We're done. But you need to know that Ruairi and I have been absolutely loving this. And also, Mauro Icardi then told Pochettino and all of the PSG staff, I cannot play this week's Champions League game because of personal problems. I cannot go in the pitch. Like my mind is elsewhere right now. Poor Mauro. I really feel bad for you. Not really.
All that all the hassle I was talking about that he comes with. This is it. This is the hassle that he drags with him bloody everywhere. And it's genuinely ruining his career. Like, it is genuinely ruining his career. It's insane.
And he's not even in the position of saying, I'm going to walk away from this relationship, because I feel like he's not the type of guy that can tie his shoelaces without any supervision from Wanda. But talking about football today, we are going to talk about, of course, the Champions League week. We're 3 games. We're halfway through the group stage. We're going to discuss that. And then, of course, we're going to preview this weekend's Serie A and Premier League games. Rory, shall we jump to the Euroreview?
Let's go. And here we are up in the blimp for the Euroreview, and it is Champions League time. As Tommy said, we were lucky enough to go and watch one of the games this week, which we are going to get onto. But some interesting results halfway through. Tommy, how are you feeling about the Champions League so far?
Well, I think there are some pretty interesting stats to analyze, and there are some teams that have definitely underperformed, some teams that have overperformed. One, namely, hint, hint, they come from the Netherlands, and I think it's super tight to support them. But also there have been some key players that have really made the headlines, and some very, very good games. Hint, hint, Old Trafford. That was a good one. What do you want to do, Rory? Should we start from our experience at the San Siro the other night?
Let's do it. I want to talk about that night. I kind of still vaguely remember it, and I'm still recovering from it. But what a night, Tommy. I put a thing up on Twitter, and I said, I can't believe that we're like, like the height of lockdown when nothing was going on. All I was thinking was, I just want to go and watch football in San Siro. I just want to go and watch football in San Siro. And to finally be there again on a Champions League, like I know we went to a Serie A game, but being there for a night game for Champions League, I had this realization of like, oh, thank God we can do this again. It was amazing.
No, it was super fun. Quickly, we were in line to get into the stadium. We were having some beers, and then all of a sudden we bumped into a friend of ours that we hadn't seen in like 10 years, just there in line to go to the stadium. Turns out our seats were very close to each other, so we ended up watching the game together. The thing is that we weren't quick enough to purchase the tickets in the curva sector where we usually go, and that's a pretty free sector where you can sing, you can insult the ref, you can use all kind of vocabulary and language that you want, you can drink beer, a lot of beer, you can be loud, you can do whatever you want. This time we were on the opposite side, right below the Moldovan fans, and already for me it was strange because we had to sit down, and I haven't properly sat down at a football game for 90 minutes in I think I've never done that. So right away, I'm kind of like squeezed in between people, and I'm wondering, is this going to be like that for 90 minutes? Yes, it did. But then it was kind of funny because I think at first we were very worried about the language. We were very worried about the drinking and everything. But I feel like in the end, the people around us understood that we were kind of in the wrong sector. We kind of became, as I usually do when I drink a little bit, I made sure that I met everybody around us. I became friends with everybody. There were some people from the Netherlands. They were very nice. We also high-fived at one of the goals. Let's say it could have been worse. And in the end, it was a great experience. I had so much fun. It was beautiful. Great win. Super important win. Very emphatic. What do you think about the actual game, Rory?
Yeah, well, I was just going to quickly say, that's your, I've experienced football in Italy. That's your first sample of what football's like in England, when you have to sit down for 90 minutes. But I think the game was, I think it was a statement from Inter. As much of it as it's like also a bit of a routine win, like because it's a team they're expected to beat, it's a team that people thought they shouldn't struggle against. I think it's still a statement from Inter, because I think in that game, if it's like a year ago, 2 years ago, Inter potentially drop 2 points or it's a loss, I think this is still a statement from Inter. I think it was a really professional performance. Apart from the free kick, Sheriff didn't really offer too much. In the early stages, they had a few counterattacks where we thought, oh, they might be dangerous. But then the second Inter got the goal, they kind of controlled the game. The free kick was beautiful, but that was the only real chance I remember them having. And I think Inter just saw it out comfortably in the end. And it's a big step for both Inzaghi and for Inter as a team. And I think we were talking about it at the game, because with Juve coming up this weekend, if you don't get a positive result there, all of a sudden that weighs heavy on the squad. So I think even though it was a routine win, in inverted commas, it's a big win.
I agree with you. It was an important win. It was a must win. And we know that when facing a must win, Inter usually don't win. So it was pretty good to see that. The group is very compact. Sheriff are still first, followed by Real Madrid, Inter, and then Shakhtar last. The next game we're going to play is going to be in Moldova against the Sheriff. I like the team performance. The goal, it was a beautiful free kick. I'm not even gonna... Andanovic could have done slightly better, but hey, he dived at least. So let's not ask for too much. He even got a touch on it, which was great. I love the reaction of the team, and Vidal finally performing like Vidal should. He had an assist. He had a goal. Also, Dzeko had a beautiful, beautiful assist. He kind of returned the favor to Vidal.
Yeah.
A beautiful ball towards Vidal. That was a tough goal to score for the Chilean. And then in the end, De Vrij scoring his first ever Champions League goal for a final 3-1 win. As you said, we have the next game is huge in Serie A against Juventus. Juventus are picking up form. We're going to talk about them as well. But it's a super important result. And if we get a win this Sunday, I think the morale is going to be very, very high. I think Inter Milan are going to go through to the knockout stage. I'm pretty sure about that. And what you heard in the background...
You don't want to jinx it, Tommy. You don't want to jinx it.
No, I don't know. I heard your dog sneezing, and I was just like, I'll just say it. I'll just say it.
Yeah, she's always bloody making noise. Shh. There we go. Right, she'll be quiet now. She's staring at me like I've upset her. But it's fine.
Talking about Inter's group, one of the biggest disappointments to me in this Champions League has been De Zerbi's Shakhtar Donetsk. Oh. They are last in the group stage, and they had a woeful game against Real Madrid. I have to say that Real Madrid were on they were on one that night. Incredible all around. Vinicius Jr., could he be the best dribbler in Europe at the moment, Rory?
Well, I think we're going to get on to the only player who I think could challenge him, but I think, and I'll reveal that later, so carry on listening. But I think, yeah, you definitely have that's a decent shout. We've talked about him before, and I've always said I love how direct he is. I enjoy how, like, whenever he gets the ball, his only thought is to get to goal and take a player on. So I think he's a player that when he first came to Real Madrid, I kind of wondered what the hype was about. But I'm slowly starting to see more and more just how good that guy is. But for De Zerbi, he's having a bit of a rough time in general, because Shakhtar, a team that usually don't walk the Ukrainian league, but they win it 9 times out of 10, are currently 3 points behind Dynamo Kiev. So it seems like he's having a bit of a rough start at Shakhtar. And to be honest, it is quite a tough group having to play Inter and Real Madrid. And because Sheriff have been such a surprise package as well.
However, I have to say 0 goals scored in 3 games, not even against Sheriff. I mean, Shakhtar Donetsk are a good team. They're a pretty good team. They're a competitive team. And last year, they went through together with Real Madrid. So this is definitely very bad. 7 goals against, 0 goals scored. They're sitting at 1 point. Sheriff are at 6, Real Madrid at 6, Inter at 4, and they're last. I think the next game is going to be fundamental for them, but it's against Real Madrid. And even if it's at home, it's going to be really, really tough for them to overcome that. We shall see, but I do think halfway through the group stage, for what I've seen, I think Inter Milan and Real Madrid are the teams that deserve to go through. The Sheriff has been an incredible story. It's been very pretty to watch and everything, but I think they've hit, especially Sebastian Thiel. He scored at the Bernabeu. He scored at the San Siro. I mean, what an incredible UCL campaign. I don't think they can ask much more than this from this group.
No, well, that's it, exactly. And again, we said it before the game. I think that it was going to be a case of like after the Lord Mayor's show for Sheriff, like they had that huge win in Madrid. I didn't think they were going to be able to follow that up. I think that was their like, right, we're here. That's their statement win. And then now, look, they'll get Europa League and they'll be very happy with that to go into the knockout rounds of the Europa League and potentially have a chance of progressing quite far because we've seen how effective a team they are. As we said at the beginning of the game against Inter, their counterattacks were very dangerous. And when it was 0-0, we were like, oh, shit, they're making better chances, you know? Like one of these could go in. So I think we know how dangerous they can be. And for that Till, he's going to be snapped up by someone else now because for Luxembourg, he's been impressing as well in the Nations League. And now on the biggest stage, I think there's going to be other clubs looking for him because look what he's done now. Like you said, he scored at the Bernabeu, he scored at the San Siro. He's been impressing for Luxembourg in the Nations League. And I think this player, there will be clubs thinking, okay, let's see what he's about. Is he worth getting? But I think there's a few players as well. Cristiano, the left back for them, has been very good as well. So, you know, it's still a pretty good campaign for Sheriff, right?
Cherry on top for our Tuesday night at the San Siro, the big screen showing the result for Porto AC Milan. The stadium started jumping. Chi non salta rosso nero, who doesn't jump is a black and red. AC Milan, 0 points in the group stage, 3 goals for, 6 goals against. They lose at Porto, which was the easiest, we could say, game that they were going to face in the group stage. I have to say AC Milan have been a bit unlucky, but the game against Porto, I didn't watch it. I read about it. I watched the highlights, and it was woeful. In the end, Porto had like 26 shots, I believe, and AC Milan had a total of 4. So that means that something is not going the right way. Of course, we've already discussed the fact that AC Milan are facing a lot of injuries, but that is not an excuse for underperforming so much at Porto in the easiest, in inverted commas, game of the group stage. What do you think, Rory?
Well, we said it, I think, in the episode when we were kind of reviewing the groups and or previewing the groups, that this was a difficult group and that every game was going to be hard. And that's what Milan have discovered, that, yeah, you can't sleep in this competition. And especially when the other teams are Liverpool, Atletico and Porto, you have to make sure you turn up against Porto. You have to make sure that you are there to beat the lowest ranked team because you're not going to get anything from the other two. So I think it's been a massively disappointing campaign so far for Milan. It's not over, but if Porto get Europa League ahead of them, that's pretty bad.
Oh, that would be pretty bad. And again, we can discuss it in another episode. I hate how a lot of Italian supporters say it might as well be good to finish 4th in the group stage so we can focus solely on the league. Don't you fight to compete at the top stage of European football? I really don't like that type of narrative. I can understand it at times. I haven't heard it much from AC Milan. I've heard it, however, from some pundits on television. They were like, if I were AC Milan, I would stop focusing on the Champions League. But how can you when you're not mathematically out? I think it's your obligation to try and go through.
No, well, yeah, definitely. They're not even like, it's not over. You've still got half your games left. Like, it's not like you've got one game left. You've got half your games left. You need to keep fighting. And also, these are the same people that will moan at clubs for not being in European competition. And then when they get into European competition, they dismiss the European competition that they're in. It seems really bizarre to me. Like, for me, you should want to be in as many competitions as possible, and you should want to win all those competitions. That's
True.
the point of the sport.
True. Agreed. Let's say to AC Milan's defense, it's not an easy group, and in that group, there might as well be one of the main competitors to win it all at the end of the season. We're talking about Liverpool. I was so impressed. Well, number one, with Mohamed Salah. He's the first player in Liverpool history to score in 9 consecutive UCL games, and they have seen some talent at Anfield.
Yeah.
At the moment, Liverpool, to me, together with 2 other teams that we'll talk about, look like the favorites to win it all. And that goal by Naby Keita, oh my God, man. Did you see his leg extension?
Banger.
He pretty much kicked himself in the forehead after hitting that. And it was such a beautiful shot. Also, I love that celebration when players realize what a goal they've scored and they're just like, oh shit, man. Did you see that? Love that. Good job, Naby. What do you make of Liverpool so far, both in the Premier League and in Champions League, Rory?
Well, I'm going to go back and remember that I had a point to finish. Salah is the only player I think that could maybe challenge Rodrigo for being the best dribbler on the planet right now. I think he is running past defenders, dancing past defenders like they don't exist. And in his first goal, he did the same again here. Honestly, I did not expect Liverpool to be this good this season. I think I counted them out far too early. And we were talking so much, and like a lot of people were talking so much about how a quiet transfer window is going to kill them. Yes, we know AFCON they've still got to get through that, and that's going to be difficult. But they are looking unbelievable at the moment in both the Premier League and the Champions League. One of my students today asked me, okay, you can say one English team to win the Champions League this year. Who is it? And my instinct was to say Liverpool. I just think they are playing some of the best football at the moment. They're always involved in the best games. They've got some of the best players. Like, everything is just is great there. So I think, yeah, I did not expect them to be this good. And they're so clinical. Like, but what you could say is they did let Atletico back into the game. Like, they were 2-0 up. They should have been able to be a bit more comfortable, see it to halftime, or just calm down the game a little bit, but they just weren't able to. And I think maybe that's where they're if there's a weakness, that's where the weakness lies, is just because they play such a high line, some teams are able to take advantage of it. But then when you can score 3 away from home anyway, does it matter? Like,
at Atletico,
the first team to do it under Simeone, right? I'm almost certain.
I like off the top of my head, the goals conceded by Atletico Madrid at home in the Champions League are so few. They must be the first team to score 3 in the Champions League at the Wanda Metropolitano. Atletico Madrid and Porto, an identical record: 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss. Rory, if you had to guess who else is going to go through aside from Liverpool, who would that be?
Atletico. They'll get it done. They always get it done. They'll get it done.
Let's move on to one pretty exciting game. Rory had predicted how it would end up almost exactly. We're talking about Old Trafford last night. Of course, we're recording on a Thursday. Manchester United, the non-team that can always rely on the individuals.
I don't understand.
So I would tell you very quickly, for a very long time, besides the defensive line, I did not understand the positions of the Manchester United players. I did not understand what lineup they were playing with. I did not understand their game plan at all. And yes, I'm not a manager. Yes, I'm not the most knowledgeable person in football. But I was just confused. Like, one time you would see Rashford on the left, the other time on the right, Cristiano Ronaldo kind of wandering all around the pitch, very little communication between players. And before you know it, Atalanta are 2-0 up. I think that they took the lead a little too early. And also, they're starting to become one of Ronaldo's favorite victims. He scored quite a bunch against them. I'll check the stat while I let you go, Rory.
I don't understand what Manchester United are. The first half, they were so bad. And the second half, they were so good. And like, I don't like, how does that happen? Like, the attack is so lethal, and like when they were all playing together, you're like, my God, this team could beat anyone on the planet. And then that first half, you think they look like a side that shouldn't be in the Champions League. They were defending like, it's being harsh to school kids to say they were defending like school kids. Like, the way they defended that corner for Demiral to score was an absolute joke. And the way that Atalanta passed the ball around them for the first goal, you were like, okay, come on, guys, wake up. But in the second half, they come out, and I don't know whether it's just Ronaldo who gets in there and is like, I am not playing this badly. Like, I'm just going to demand that you all improve, or whether it's Fernandes who demands it, or Solskjaer who demands it. I have no idea, but I don't know how a team can go from being so woeful in the first half to so dominant in the second half. Now, like you said, for Atalanta, in the first half, they did score too early, and the second half, they definitely set up to just, let's hold on to this, whereas I think they could have tried a bit more to play their normal game. The second United got their first goal, you knew exactly what was going to happen. You were like, okay, put all your money on a United win now, because you know they're going to get it.
So last night was Ronaldo's first win ever against Atalanta. However, he scored 4 goals in 6 games against them. He's starting to become a sort of talisman against Atalanta. I think that, look, Atalanta are a beautiful ensemble, but how long are we going to keep saying, well, despite losing, they put up a great show for being Atalanta? I think that this is the moment where you need to actually win these games. You've got a game in control. You're up 2-0 at halftime. Score another one. They went very close with Zapata first and Malinovsky after. De Gea had 2 very good saves. I think De Gea is really having a good season after all the down spiral that he had in the past. He's really picking form again. And if it wasn't for him, maybe the result would have been different. But I think that Atalanta need to look for that third goal with more insistency. And on the goal by Rashford, I believe it was a back pass from Ilicic to defense that was intercepted. And the Muriel had done the same thing before, but Manchester United had missed. So I think it's very important that Atalanta keep their focus for the entirety of the game. I still think that they've got very good chances of going through the group stage, but I'm kind of tired of the narrative. It doesn't matter, like, the result in the end. They put up a great show at Old Trafford. No, come on, guys. You can do better than this, I think.
Well, this is it. Yeah, I think the whole point of being in these competitions over a sustained period of time is that you improve, right? And that your expectations improve alongside that. And if this is their third year in the Champions League now, is it third? Yeah. Like, they should be aiming for, okay, we've not disgraced ourselves in the first year. The second year, we've got to the quarterfinals, very closely to the semifinals, right? So you should be looking for progress. And that excuse of, plucky little Atalanta doesn't really hold off anymore. Unless, like, I don't know, you look at the difference in wage budgets between Manchester United and Atalanta and you go, okay, they have done bloody well there, to be fair. But I think,
but then,
we're not seeing
when you think that but that's kind of fake too, because Maguire is worth 89 million pounds, and I don't think that's his actual value. So 2 takeaways that I have from this game, though. One thing about Atalanta and one thing about Manchester United that I appreciated. Kopp Miners is a new player for Atalanta. He comes from the Netherlands, where he was actually the captain of his team. He's been starting a lot for Atalanta. Last night, he didn't look in his finest form. What I loved about it was Zapata motivating him. That's the type of teammate that you want. So at first, he had a lob for the forward that was way off. And you see you see Zapata sort of like clapping his hands towards him, like, okay, keep pushing, keep pushing. Then he has a shot, an open wide shot, and he misses. And he kind of like puts his hand in his hair. And right after, Zapata like drops the ball towards him and he shoots very close to target this time. And it's just like not giving up on your teammate, rather trying to motivate them and give them that extra chance. I feel like Zapata knows that Kopp Miners needed the goal, and so he let him take that extra shot.
And you compare that to like the energy that Ronaldo gives off to all of his teammates if they dare misplace a pass or not give the ball to him. And it's like, obviously I know United won in the end, but it's like, it is nice to see that different attitude. Nothing annoys me more than when you see teammates getting visibly angry with their teammates, because you're like, there's only one reason you're doing that. You're doing that to embarrass them because you know people are watching. Like, and it really does anger me that. So yeah, it was good to see that. I think that turn and shot from Zapata was absolutely beautiful. I was really hoping that would go in, obviously. But for United, I feel like I'm always saying the same thing about them. I just don't understand how they're doing it. I don't understand how they always manage to do this when there is no discernible idea. Like, Tommy, when you said about the formations and the positions, I didn't know when Cavani came on, if he was a focal point up front, if he was playing left wing, if he was a number 10. I was like, what are they trying to do with Cavani here? Is it just, oh, mate, just go out and just you do you and see what happens? Like, I don't know. It just seems all over the place to me.
In this group, we also have a Villarreal beating very convincingly Young Boys 4-1. They are on 4 points with Atalanta, but they are exactly where they want to be. They are third, ready for Europa League. So we might as well say that they've achieved what they wanted. Going back very quickly, Rory, to Inter Milan, I just forgot to say one name, Edin Dzeko. Just look up his stats. He's replacing Lukaku. Inter fans were desperate at the beginning of the season. Dzeko is kind of old and stuff. He keeps banging them in. He's got 5 goals in 5 home games for Inter Milan this season. He keeps delivering. I saw the Champions League best goals of the week, and his against the Sheriff, the 1-0, was the first one. It was a beautiful left-footed volley, as beautiful as you can see. But let's stay in Italy and England, because Juventus, under Allegri, they finally picked up form. 4th consecutive 1-0, which seems to be the game plan now. Just score 1 and then defend. They also got so lucky with scoring at the death of time. They did so against Torino in Serie A. They did so last night against Zenit. But they are also one of the very few teams, actually one of the 2 teams, to concede 0 goals over 3 games, which is pretty impressive. The machine is starting to work. They are pretty much already through to the knockout stage. They are first in the standings, not playing very exciting football, but we can call it effective for sure. And Chelsea are second at 6 points. They also have conceded only 1 goal, but they have a problem. Lukaku is injured, but also he doesn't seem to be able to score anymore. Rory, since you're the Premier League expert, what's going on with the big Belgian?
Well, what is going on with Lukaku? I have no idea. We talked about it briefly on the Monday show, I think, and we said that it's just, he is a bit of a confidence player. Once it starts to not go his way, it tends to continue to not go his way. And I think they will be a little bit concerned. There was already rumours that they were trying to get rid of Werner because they bought Lukaku, and now there was a story I read midweek that Tuchel has admitted that, around Chelsea, they have had conversations about Haaland. So it's, I don't know, I feel like Lukaku needs everything to be built towards him, built around him, and everything to be going his way. Against a team like Malmo, you'd be expecting him to get a goal. I know he got injured, but you'd be expecting those to be the games to build his confidence. But don't worry too much. Chelsea have got Norwich this weekend, so not that he can play now, but that would have been another nice game for him to kind of pick up 2 or 3 goals. But I'm not. Maybe he should have just stayed at Inter, Tommy. Maybe he should have just stayed at Inter.
Well, I'm glad he left. Juventus are first at 9 points. Chelsea trail by 3 at 6 points. And then we've got Zenit and Malmo. Malmo, one of the very disappointing teams to have a total of points of 0. So let's go to the last group featuring an English team. Group A, where we've got PSG leading at 7, followed by Man City at 6, Club Brugge at 4, and RB Leipzig. What's going on, boys? 0 points, 3 losses, 11 goals conceded. I have to say that they always lost by 1 goal, and that sounds very, very shitty. But at the same time, they've been robbed completely of their best players, their manager. They've been robbed of their soul by Bayern Munich, and this is just like the natural consequence of what's going to happen.
Well, I do feel really bad for Jesse Marsch, who's come in from RB Salzburg to become the Leipzig manager, and now has had everything taken, all the structure taken away from him before he arrives. And now they're like, okay, go. They're also struggling in the Bundesliga this year. So they are currently down in 8th position, below Cologne, having already lost 3 games. So 3 wins, 2 draws, and 3 losses. So they're kind of struggling in the league as well. But this, like we said, this is understandable considering the summer they had. In this group, they were always going to have a tough time. But for them to be bottom behind Club Brugge. Now, again, we said Club Brugge are no mugs. They produce some really good young players and they've had some great results. But yeah, RB Leipzig fans will be very, very disappointed with this. And to always lose by one goal. Like, I've been in that situation on Football Manager where you're just like, why can I just not keep out that last goal? Like, why is there always that one? Like, it is pretty frustrating. But I think this group's kind of going, apart from that, exactly how we expected, really. Man City and PSG in the top two places. They'll battle it out to see who finishes top. It'll be interesting to see if City finish second in the group, because then you get a much harder draw in the knockout rounds. So I think there's actually genuinely quite a lot of competition there to get that top spot. Because I was thinking the same for Chelsea and Juventus as well. Like, for one of those teams to finish second in the group could have a massive, massive impact on how far they go in the tournament.
Well, they could always get lucky and draw a team like Salzburg, which you mentioned. And for the first time in their history, they managed to get a streak of 2 consecutive wins in the Champions League. They're currently leading their group with 7 points, followed by Sevilla at 3, Lille at 2, and Wolfsburg at 2. Now, about this group, the thing that struck me the most was, of course, how good of a team Salzburg are. I really like the analysis that Julio Cesar made on Amazon Prime last night. He was one of the pundits who showed up as a guest at this post-game show. And he was saying that they play with, he used a term that was very funny. He's like they play irresponsible football, and they love it because they're a young team. They like to attack. They're not caring that much about the defense, and they're getting lucky with their group because it doesn't seem that the attacks are that good. But he said that they're playing the type of football where you don't have a lot of stress on your shoulders. You're playing very relaxed. You're banging in a lot of goals, and that's what they need. So they're first in their group. I don't think we would have seen that come. But Rory, who do you think are going to go through in Group G?
Well, I think as it stands at the moment, I think you have to say that I thought that this group was going to be an intriguing one because nobody would be looking at it. I think Lille are having a terrible season in Ligue 1 so far. They're really missing the fact that their manager went to join Nice. Sevilla are always clinical. So I think the top two there are going to be the two that go through. But with RB Salzburg, I took a bit of time to kind of read around them this afternoon because I really am enjoy, as much as I hate the Red Bull model and what it means for football, I do really enjoy the fact that they produce lots of young players. And I was reading about their sporting director. So he's called Christoph Freund, and he's 44 years old. And he spent most of his career playing in the Austrian leagues. And he did play for Austria Salzburg when he was younger. But he's been there since the 2015-16 season. And to go through his transfers, the players that he's picked up and then sold, it's incredible. So he is responsible for the Haaland deal. He's responsible for Daka. He's responsible for Hwang, who's now at Wolves. He's responsible for Keita. Like, all the big players they've gone on and sold, he has been the one who's brought them in. It's been under his tenure. So he is just the system they have there for spotting talent. Like, they paid 250,000 for Patson Daka, and he scored 4 against Spartak Moscow last night in the Europa League, including a 9-minute hat trick. Like, their ability to spot talent. And what I like about when they sell players, they're not like massively greedy. They sold Haaland for like 20 million. They were like, yeah, that's enough. That's enough to keep us. We can get a few more players in with that and we'll make it more. Like, I think I just really like the way the clubs run and their identity, like their talent identity. And the striker they have now, Adeyemeni, he's going to be the next one. He's going to be the next one that's sold on now. His record in the league is great. He got 1 of the goals last night, and I think he's going to be the next striker that in 2 seasons' time, a Premier League, Serie A, Bundesliga club will come looking for him. Like, they're just this conveyor belt of talent they have is unbelievable. So it's great to see them top in a group and hopefully in the knockout stages. That'd be fantastic.
I think they're bound to the knockout stages. We only have 2 groups left to cover. One, I'm going to headline it. Oh no, Barcelona scored their first goal in this year's Champions League and they win against Dynamo Kiev. Dynamo Kiev, what are you doing? 1-0 loss against Barcelona, who the Spaniards are currently 3rd in the group stage at 3 points. And suddenly things are looking brighter than ever this season. Bayern Munich are leading with 9 points, and here are my favorites to lift the Champions League this season. Bayern Munich, they're just back to being the inevitable team that they've got us used to seeing. They've got so much talent, and it feels like there is no defense that they cannot sit down, figure out, and completely dismantle by the time the 90th minute comes. Last week in the Bundesliga against the Bayer Leverkusen, who were very mouthy on Twitter, if you remember our ending quote from last week.
Yeah.
It was 0-0, and then all of a sudden they scored 4 goals in 8 minutes, and that was halftime, 4-0 for Bayern Munich. They look inevitable. They've got so much talent that the Sané free kick that they had the other night was incredible against Benfica. And ladies and gentlemen, it's Bayern Munich once again. They are back. They're here to make a statement. They've scored 12 goals, which means, they've played 3 games, so an average of 4 goals per game in the group stage so far, and conceded 0. Guess who's also back? Manuel Neuer. He pulled off some incredible saves against Benfica. Do you think Barcelona are going to go through, Rory, or not?
No, no, I think it's too much for them. And I was thinking whilst watching the highlights, I was like, because they like to play PK up front, is PK a better striker than Luke de Jong? Now, this is a very small sample window, admittedly, but this season, and I'm just going to drop this season, Luke de Jong has 1 goal for Barcelona and PK has 2. I rest my case. They should play PK up front. He is obviously the savior that they need. Luke de Jong definitely isn't.
And they've scored a total of 4 goals. No, I'm joking. But it was like PK scored
50% of the team goals, Tommy. 50%.
Yeah, 50%. It's on PK. Beautiful. We will see. I don't know. I feel like Barcelona they're little bastards. They're like Juventus. They get 1 win and then they know what to do for the rest. They're gonna, man, I think that honestly, they're looking at the Juventus model, how to win games 1-0 and just be comfortable with that result. But finally, the last group that we need to cover, ladies and gentlemen, Group C. It's only 3 the teams who've got a total of 9 points after 3 games, and we're talking about Juventus, Bayern Munich, and Ajax. Now, this team, 11 goals scored and only 1 goal conceded. Last night, their goalkeeper had an incredible save on Haaland, who stared. I loved Haaland's reaction. He took it personally. You don't do that to Haaland. It was a beautiful shot. The goalkeeper dived. He got the ball, and then the ball hit the crossbar, and Haaland just waited for the goalkeeper to get up, stared him in the eyes, and just looked at him like, what are you doing? You don't do that against me.
How dare you?
The thing is this one. If I could pick, if I was born again and I could pick a team to support, that would be Ajax. I don't know. They come from Amsterdam, which I don't have to cover why it's an awesome city. I love the Netherlands in general. It's a country that I really like. The people sitting behind us at the stadium last week were from the Netherlands, by the way. I made the usual joke. I love stroopwafels, which is like their favorite sweet. And all of a sudden, they forgot of all the swear words I'd been using, of all the alcohol I'd been drinking, and they pulled off a smile. So that's why Dutch people are great. But also then, it feels like they stay dormant for a few years, but then they come back. And I feel like this might as well be the best Ajax team we've seen since that one that went to the semifinals against the Tottenham. Hot take? I don't think so. They look good. They look prolific, and they look solid.
Well, this is it. And it's all under the same manager. It's Ten Hag, right? And he is now, like you said, arguably, he's created his second very good Ajax team. To beat Dortmund 4-0 at home is definitely no mean feat. Like, we know that Dortmund are prone to these collapses and these like meltdowns every so often, but still that is a very impressive result. And the football that Ajax play, they play beautiful football. It's always entertaining. And I think I can understand why you would want to support them, I'll be honest, because they are a very attractive club. And he's made Haller, so far, he's the top goal scorer in the Champions League. Now, anyone who saw him play in the Premier League last year would not have seen this coming. And I think the Ten Hag has just been able to build a great team, like that mix of experience and youth. So he's still got players like Dusan Tadic, but he's able to bring through the younger players. Even like that winger they've got as well, the Brazilian winger, I think Anthony, is unbelievable. So they always just, like RB Salzburg, right? Or Salzburg are like Ajax, I think is probably fairer. They just constantly have this cycle of talent coming through, but the blend of experience and youth in that squad is really, really good. And maybe like if you got them in the Champions, if you got them in the knockout round, you wouldn't be really kind of confident. You'd be like, okay, this is going to be a rough one, right?
Agreed, 100%. Do you think Dortmund are going to go through? They're second on 6 points, but they've scored only 3 goals over a grand total of 3 games. Sporting are trailing by 3 points in third place. And finally, Besiktas, one of the most disappointing teams in this campaign, 0 points so far. Can Sporting overtake Borussia, in your opinion?
I think Dortmund should see it through. Obviously, it all comes to the next game, which is going to be away in Amsterdam. So that is going to be a big, big game, and it all kind of hinges on that. So obviously, they're not going to feel too confident after getting humbled away. But in Dortmund, with that atmosphere, maybe Ajax might struggle a little bit more. So I think it all hinges on that next game for Dortmund.
So that's it for the Champions League. Also some beautiful saves last night. For the first time in a long time at this show, I saw the best saves of the Champions League. Maybe they did it because Julio Cesar was in the studio as well. But if you don't have anything more to say about the Champions League, I was just relooking at my notes. A few things that I wanted to say. Simeone not shaking Klopp's hand and Klopp just losing it. He tried to chase him down the tunnels.
It's a weird one. I'm trying to think if I've seen another manager refuse to shake Jurgen Klopp's hand. I feel like might have seen it before, but I'm not sure because I feel like he's quite an affable guy. Like, does anybody know what it was? I know. Well, that red card was definitely a red card, but I know the game.
Oh my God, that was a great.
There was an awful. I don't know what it was. Griezmann, right? I don't know what he thought he was doing. But
he had just scored the 2 goals. I think he was on the wings of just excitement, and he wanted to do it all, and he just kicked somebody's face. That's something you don't do.
But I don't know if it was the fact that the game got heated that just meant that Simeone wasn't having it. But it's a bit of like the sour grapes to it, isn't it? Really.
And maybe my favorite Champions League moment from this the match day, I didn't see it at the stadium because we were far away, probably a little intoxicated. But one of the interplays, did you see Lautaro and Perisic hitting a loose ball at exactly the same time and smashing the crossbar? Big time Holly and Benji vibes, right? Do you remember that they used to Captain Tsubasa? Did you have that cartoon?
Oh, right. Now, this is a cultural phenomenon I missed out on.
Okay, so there was it was
It
terrible
for the English listeners. I don't know what
it's fucking awful. Yeah. I hated that show, but it was called Ollie and Benji, and it was about 2 Japanese football players, a goalkeeper and a forward, and they played when they were running. I didn't like anime when I was a kid because I was compared to Disney cartoons, the drawings are terrible. And when they showed people running, the pitch would become a sort of hill. It was terrible. Yeah. But then there was this famous shot that the 2 forwards of the national Japanese of their team had, which was, I don't know what it was called, but basically it was Ollie and Becker hitting the ball at the same time. Becker was another forward, hitting the ball at the same time. But man, last night since it was a huge cultural phenomenon in Italy, last night on Amazon Prime in the studio, they showed the play from the cartoon and it was exactly the same thing, except that in the cartoon they scored. But then the very embarrassing thing, Rory, and this, sometimes we're hard on ourselves about the podcast. Like sometimes maybe we joke too much about something. Dude, they closed up the show last night trying to recreate that same shot. Oh God! And the TV host got injured. Like he really got injured. Oh
God!
But there was
his hamstring or something. That's so bad.
Very quickly because it's super stupid. But Federico Balzaretti, former player for Palermo and the Italian national team, also for Roma, he was in the studio and it's him and the TV host getting a ball out of nowhere. And it's like, should we try to recreate the shot? And Julio Cesar goes, no, guys, I don't know if we should do it. Like, I don't know, we could break stuff. And they're like, no, you go, like two fucking kids. You go in goal, Julio, you go in goal. And you see Julio Cesar just standing there like, guys, I don't think it's a good idea. Balzaretti gets a touch on the ball. The host completely misses, but then Balzaretti completely wrecks his shin. And you see the TV host like getting his leg, and he's like, God, all right, bye, listeners. We'll talk to you another time. And then they just ended like that. I was like, this is ridiculous. But that's it for the Champions League. Very quickly, before we jump to the weekly topic, Rory, what games are we going? And I'm slowing down because I know that Rory needs to look for his notes. What games in the Premier League this weekend?
Well, it all starts off tomorrow night, or tonight, as you have it, listeners, as we have Arsenal taking on Aston Villa.
Ooh.
Next. I just don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about us at the minute. Monday was awful, so Friday's probably going to be the same. On Saturday,
can I just say one thing, Rory? Arsenal are undefeated in 6 games.
More by luck than by design, I would say. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. How we got away with that one against Palace, I will never, ever know. But before I get off on a rant on that one, because, anyway. So, starting on Saturday at 1:30, we have Chelsea taking on Norwich. This could be a cricket score, as they say. I really feel for Norwich this weekend. They're going to get both barrels as Chelsea continue their run towards a title challenge. For context, the last time Norwich City beat Chelsea was, right, Tommy, give us a guess of the year, the last time Norwich beat Chelsea.
1993.
Oh, mate, that was so close.
What?
August 1990. No, December 1994.
Oh, shit.
10th of January 1994 at Carrow Road, Norwich beat Chelsea 3-0. Ever since, it has been basically straight W's. So I am not holding my breath for Norwich here. But it could be an interesting game if you like seeing goals from one team. Then on Saturday, that's followed by Crystal Palace versus Newcastle. This is a 3:00 kickoff. Crystal Palace, after a very, very impressive performance against Arsenal, where they definitely should have had 3 points, can they actually see a game out until the final whistle is blown at this point and get 3 points? I'm going to say they can against Newcastle, who have finally, in the least surprising news, sacked Steve Bruce this week. He stepped down. I think it's more like he was jumped before he was pushed. So the assistant is going to take over for this game. I don't know how Newcastle expect this situation to be better. I just don't understand how they expect it to be better with the assistant in charge, but cool.
We've slagged off, especially you, because you have more knowledge about the person, Steve Bruce, quite a bit. But it was beautiful to read the Saint Maximin's post following his departure. And he said, "You're a man I will always remember, both for what you did for me on the pitch and off the pitch. Thank you for everything you've done for me." So it seems that at least, despite not being maybe the best tactical genius out there, he's a good person. So.
Yeah, there were also rumors of like the players having nicknames for him and regularly like openly laughing at him and stuff. So I don't know, like San Maximin is a legend, but I don't think all the changing room shared his sentiments. But it was nice to see. Also follow San Maximin on Twitter. He's great. Then we have on Saturday another team who are struggling. We have Leeds versus Wolves. Leeds desperately need to find some form. Hopefully they'll have some of the players back. Phillips, Bamford. If they can get some of them back, maybe they can find some form. Wolves fresh off that massive comeback against Villa from 2-0 down. So that could be an interesting game to watch. Again, on Saturday at 3:00, we have Everton versus Watford. Move on. Next, we have Southampton versus Burnley. 2 teams again struggling. That's not going to be a classic. Then the late kickoff on Saturday, Brighton versus Man City. Tommy, this is going to be a football game.
This is a football game between title challengers, and I'm gonna watch it, I think, on a Saturday night at 6:30 Italian time. Brighton, they come from 2 consecutive 0-0 draws. Will they score against Manchester City? But even better, will they win? Is this possible in your opinion, Rory?
I'm going to say they score, but they probably don't win. It's definitely possible. I feel like last season, Brighton definitely gave City a right game at the Amex. And off the top of my head, I'm not sure if they won, but they definitely...
They won 3-2. I'm just checking right now.
They beat them, right? Yeah.
So they lost 1-0 at the Etihad, and then at the Amex, they won 3-2 with goals by Trossard, Webster, and Byrne. And they were actually down 2-0, and they came back.
Yes.
They won 3-2.
Absolute classic. So, yeah, Brighton, come on, you Seagulls. Hopefully they can do it. That would be great if they could get the home double over City. But with City looking in such fierce form, I'm not going to hold my breath for them just yet. So that wraps up Saturday. Then on Sunday, now Sunday, Tommy, we're spending the day together because it is the derby day around Europe. I believe there are some massive games.
Big time.
In England, this is starting with an always classic Sunday, 3:00 kickoff in the UK.
Ooh.
West Ham versus Tottenham. Always a fiery game. West Ham's record against Tottenham is always pretty good. They drew against them at Tottenham last year and won at the London Stadium 2-1. So
with
West Ham will definitely
that goal from Lanzini. With that goal. Oh, no, was it Lingard last year? Sorry.
It was Lingard winner, wasn't it, I believe? So I think West Ham will definitely be hoping to continue their form. They, of course, play tonight, or last night, as you hear it, against Genk. So hopefully they'll come through unscathed and able to take on and defeat Tottenham. Then on Sunday, that's followed by Brentford versus Leicester. Now, that's at the same time, but that could also, obviously, if it wasn't for West Ham Tottenham, Brentford-Leicester would be a bloody good game to watch as well. I feel like, again, two teams that play really good football. Leicester from a 4-2 win against Spartak Moscow on Wednesday. Like I said, Patson Daka, 4 goals. If he gets more chances in the Premier League, he is going to score goals. That will be a great game. And then finally, we have the big one, and it kicks off at 5:30 in the UK. Manchester United take on Liverpool in the Northwest Derby. Now, Manchester United lost at home last time, 4-2 to Liverpool. And they've not beaten Liverpool in the Premier League since... I'm going back. I think it may be around 2019.
Wow. 2 full years, huh?
Yeah, in the Premier League, they've not beat them at home since 2018. So this will be a big scalp for United if they do. But again, with the form that Liverpool are in and the confusing form that Manchester United are in, I feel like there's only really one winner here before I jinx it and United win 4-0 now.
In Serie A, we start off on Saturday. Actually, we start off on Friday. Sorry, guys. We start off on Friday with Torino, Genoa, and at night, later that night, we've got Sampdoria, Spezia. Torino are a good team this season. The last 2 games were against Juventus and Napoli, but hey, they lost only 1-0, and they were in the game in both games. Their new manager, Juric, is definitely making them play good football, but the results are not there fully. They seem incapable of scoring more than 1 goal per game. Hopefully, this is the chance against Genoa to kind of get the 3 points. Genoa haven't won a game this season since September 12th away at Cagliari. Since then, it's been 2 losses and 3 draws. So I think that Torino have a chance here. And then we've got Sampdoria, Spezia. Spezia fresh off a very good win against Salernitana. 2-1. It was their first win after 3 consecutive losses to Juventus, AC Milan, and Verona. The last game that they won was against Venezia. And the Sampdoria going through a slump. They won against Empoli 3-0, and since then they've lost 4-0 to Napoli, 3-2 to Juventus. They drew 3-3 to Udinese, and then the latest game they lost it 3-1 against Cagliari. 2 low-key games, but I think in this one, Sampdoria Spezia, we are going to see quite a few goals. We move on to Saturday when we have only 3 games. Salernitana Empoli at 3 p.m. Can Rory's Seahorses bag another win after the one against Genoa? What do you think, Rory?
I'm hoping so. I'm really hoping so. It was good to see Simi get his first goal for the club as well. You know, that was something that needed, that record needed breaking. So he's got his first goal now. Hopefully he'll get a few more. Yeah, I really do love their kits. So I hope they can get a result here. But Empoli have not been doing too bad either. They're a decent side. So it should be for like 2 teams that have both been promoted. That could be a pretty good game.
Yeah, and Salernitana have just sacked their manager Castori, and there was we've talked about him, Mr. Beavers. We dedicated an episode to
Oh, yeah,
him
yeah, yeah.
with our friend Luca, who is going to be on this pod very soon to discuss the Korea World Cup of 2002. But he was sacked, and there was a very nice picture that was posted by a fan on social media. It's Castori along at the beach in Salerno, sitting on a bench, looking at the sunset, beautiful sunset over the sea, and he's just sitting there contemplating the sky after he's been sacked.
Aw, that's quite
It
sad.
was, the human side of football, right? Then we've got Sassuolo Venezia. So all these games that I've mentioned so far, they're between teams that desperately need points. The Sassuolo are not the Sassuolo that we've been used to seeing in Serie A. Over the last 5 games, only one win against Salernitana. The latest was a draw against Genoa, 2-2. And Venezia, they picked up a pretty important win against Fiorentina on Monday night, a 1-0 win. They're second of the season after defeating Empoli away earlier this season. And then the night, Bologna, AC Milan. Bologna, who came up strong against Lazio for a 3-0 win. But after that, they haven't. I mean, they drew against Udinese, and it just seemed like an off day for Lazio. AC Milan, still second, still undefeated. Their only losses came in the Champions League this season. For the rest, they are on 4 consecutive wins in Serie A, having drawn also only against Juventus. And then Sunday, we've got Atalanta Udinese, Fiorentina Cagliari, Hellas Verona Lazio, and then pull out the big guns, ladies and gentlemen, because Roma, Mourinho's Roma, will try to get in the way of Spalletti's Napoli. Now, the thing that I love about this game is that both Mourinho and Spalletti had that very nice little break. Do you remember Mourinho calling him Spallettone, grandissimo? They had this little nice show on live television, but they're also two people. Well, Mourinho, needless to say, but also Spalletti, they can get pretty angry. They can get pretty mouthy on the touchline. So I expect a very good game already at the touchline. But then there are two very good teams. Napoli, 8 consecutive wins in Serie A. Roma lost their latest against Juventus, only 1-0, but they are no mugs. They have a very good defense. They concede very, very little. This one is going to be an exciting game. Of course, Napoli are also playing tonight, and so are Roma, respectively, in the Europa League and in the Conference League. Did you hear what Mancini said about the game that they're going to play in Norway tonight?
No.
I actually dig what he said. Like a journalist told him, how does it feel to come to play all the way to Norway? It's getting dark very early in the day. It's kind of cold. How do you feel? And he's just like, this is the price we pay for having a shit season last year. But then he said, I don't care about playing here. I'm actually happy. The fans from this team, they're going to see a big team like Roma. We play for the fans, so it's nice to kind of travel Europe. So he kind of like balanced it out at the end.
That's a good save. As a well thought out
statement. It's a good save, but at the same time, I agree for what he said. Like, we had a shit season last year. This is the price we pay. We cannot complain. But then the biggest gun of them all, Inter against
What an evening. Napoli-Roma, then into Juventus. What is this?
Yes, Dybala is supposed to be back for the game against Inter. Listen until the end of the episode. There is a nice quote from Arturo Vidal clapping back at Bonucci. But Derby d'Italia, ladies and gentlemen, what can we say? Last year, Juventus won one of the 2 games 3-2, and Inter won the other one 2-0 earlier in the season. What do you expect from this one, Rory?
I expect, well, it really depends how the first 20 minutes go. If Juventus score first, then I expect the game to be incredibly dull and Juventus to see it out. But if Inter get the first goal, I think it could be an absolute barnstormer. I'm really excited about it. I do worry about Inter mentally when it comes to facing Juventus, though.
The only game where we've failed to score in 2 games this season, both in the Champions League against Real Madrid and Shakhtar Donetsk. That doesn't seem to be the problem in Italy. The thing is that if Juventus do win this game, we will be on even points, 17, which is kind of crazy to think about if we reminisce about the beginning of the season that Juventus had. No big injuries. We shall see if Calhanoglu can play. I was looking at the injuries. There is always, of course, Christian Eriksen in the injury list.
Yeah.
We miss you, dude. Whenever you want to come back to play football, of course, do all the assessments that you need to do. But Inter Milan will welcome you back with great.
Can you imagine the reception he's going to get when he comes back? Can you imagine? Oh.
We shall see. I'm very excited. But now it's time to jump to our weekly topic. We are going to talk about one of the craziest World Cup to ever take place. We're going to take you all the way back to 2002. We're going to travel to South Korea and Japan. And we're going to see what happened to one of the best Azzurri team ever assembled.
And it is time... Finally, he's been able to join us, but it is time to talk about the 2002 World Cup. Now, before we do, I'm going to take you back in time just a little bit.
Wait, introduce our guest, Rory. Introduce our guest, Luca, who's finally back. Is everything okay at work, Luca?
See, guys, super happy to be back in such an important episode. Probably one of those moments that you never forget in your life, sport life, but also life in general. We will see.
Rory, take us back to 2002. What was going on in the world 19 years ago?
19 years ago it sounds like it should only be 9, but the world was. So the Winter Olympics were held in Salt Lake City. Films like Ice Age, Lord of the Rings, Sum of All Fears, and Star Wars Attack of the Clones were released. The big songs were Skater Boy by Avril Lavigne. It was a big year for her. Lose Yourself by Eminem, Dilemma by Nelly, and Dirty by Christina Aguilera were all blasting out of our boomboxes. Most importantly, Arsenal won the FA Cup and Premier League double, beating Chelsea in the final. And as we all remember, George W. Bush choked on a pretzel and fainted briefly. So do we now feel like we are in the year 2002?
100%. Also, other movies that I was just looking up. Minority Report, one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time. And the second Harry Potter and the second Lord of the Rings. When I saw the posters for the movies, it really took me back to when I was in elementary school / middle school, arguing with my friends, what's better, Harry Potter or the Lord of the Rings? What team are you, Rory? Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings, no competition. Not even close.
Luca?
Not even close, Lord of the Rings.
Please let it be a full house. Tommy, don't ruin it.
I think we can start. No, I am Lord of the Rings 100%. I got tired of Harry Potter rather quickly. But guys, before we start talking about one of the most unique games in world football, I need to ask you, let's start from Luca, and then we go to Rory, and then myself. What do you remember from this World Cup? Luca, what are your memories?
But the first thing is Ronaldo haircut. The little triangle he had here in front, it was I personally loved it. Everyone was criticizing, but I think I don't know, it's sweet that for him it was cool. In that moment it was cool. So I remember this, which was like a surprise. I think he did it exactly for the competition, like for the event. Yeah,
it was based on a Japanese cartoon character, right?
Something like that, exactly. Yeah, that he liked or that he loved. Yeah, so this for sure. Then I remember Oliver Kahn because he was one of my favorite players. I really loved Oliver Kahn, and in that competition, it was amazing. In those years, he was probably
the best.
One of the best goalkeepers. Yeah, exactly, the best.
And you were a goalkeeper yourself, Luca, right?
Exactly, I was. So for me, Kahn was. I was in love with Oliver Kahn. As a goalkeeper and as a person, he was really like also funny. He was always like doing crazy stuff or, losing his mind with easily, let's say. And then, of course, I remember our team because for me, this was a real dream team. Italy was a real dream team. He was considered by everyone as one of the favorite together with Brazil. The team was amazing. Everyone was at his best moment, and we had one of our best coach, Giovanni Trapattoni, which for us is more than a legend. We will see why.
But before we get into the details about Italy, Rory, what are your memories of Korea, Japan 2002?
Well, I was at high school because I'm obviously a few years older than you guys. And I remember mainly waking up to watch football, which was amazing. It was like really early in the morning. And I remember like for the England games, we could go into school and watch the football in school, which was really cool. So you had the whole school together with like a big screen watching the match. That was really good. What do I remember from the tournament? I remember Ronaldinho. That's the first time I discovered who he was as he chipped David Seaman accidentally on purpose. That's the kind of heaviest memory for me of the tournament. And an England team that should have achieved more, arguably the best England team on paper for a long, long time. And of course, France being humiliated out of the tournament, which we all enjoyed.
Yeah, that was my first big memory. I remember also waking up early in the morning. I used to live in the countryside in Marche, a big house, and I always used to wake up very early when I was a kid. And I remember just turning on the telly and realizing that there was football while I was having my cereal.
It's incredible. It was incredible.
It was beautiful. And I remember that one of the first games that I watched was exactly France against Senegal, and Senegal winning 1-0. And the night before, I remember kind of discovering where Senegal was in the world map. And my father had told me that they used to be a French colony. And the next morning, I turn on the TV and the game is on and Senegal win. So I go wake up my father and he tells me, Tommy, let me sleep, please. So that's my memory, my number one memory. Then, of course, I remember also Oliver Kahn, who unfortunately didn't do greatly in the final against Brazil. And yeah, that's more or less what I remember from this World Cup. And also an Italian man smashing his glass against the wall during Italy-Korea. So we are finally there. I will cover that in detail later. But Luca, going into the World Cup, what was the Italian national team like? Why were people so behind it? Why did many people think that we were the favorites?
See, as said, guys, there was really this high expectation from everyone, from the press, from the supporters, from the team itself. It was like it was described, I think, on the right way. It was described as a dream team because it was really, really strong in every. I mean, our lineup was Buffon, Maldini, Panucci, Coco. There was Cannavaro, there was Nesta, which unfortunately was always injured. We had Zambrotta. We had also our strikers. We had Totti, Vieri, Del Piero, Inzaghi, Montella. So this was really and all these players were at the very
peak.
Top.
Yeah,
at the peak, exactly. So it was, just to be clear, it was one of those years that in Italy we had so many good players that majority of them couldn't even participate because we had so many that we could have had like easily two teams. Imagine that Roberto Baggio was not called from Trapattoni, even if he did with Brescia an amazing season. He was really like a monster beast, but he was not called because there was no space. So considering all this, you can see that the team was really amazing, and even the international press was mentioned in Italy as one of the favorite.
Let's not forget that only 2 years before, at the last international competition, we were in the final against France, that semi-final against the Netherlands that I talked about last week, and then we lost at the Golden Goal award that will have its importance also in this World Cup. So, group stage, Luca, what are we looking at in the group stage? Who were our opponents at the time?
Let's start from the group stage because no one... there is this Italia-Korea that everyone talks about. Of course, it's right to talk about this, but it's interesting to mention, we need to quickly mention the group. So we were with Ecuador, which was at the first participation, Mexico and Croatia. So not exactly a difficult group, considering the quality of that team. And in fact, if we quickly check, first game 2-0 with Ecuador, no problems. No signal of alarm. We had Vieri which was a real monster. He scored 2 goals. He failed other 2 very easily. So it really looked like one of the possible bomber of the
top goal scorers, of the
yes.
World Cup.
Yeah, we were very good, very, as always, not conceding a goal. We started like we should. We start to have the first big problems from the second game, because we lose with Croatia 1-2.
Goals by? Do you have the goal scorers in front of you?
Vieri scored. Vieri again scored.
3 goals in 2 games for Christian Vieri.
Yeah, and during the second half, we had 2 goals disallowed. Vieri again and Inzaghi. And the amazing thing is that in that period there was no VAR. So it was that period, you all remember, when there was like this time for the assistant to decide in less than 1 second, flag up, flag down. So you need to decide in 1 second. And there was this tendency that if you have a big doubt, you should not do anything.
Give the goal.
Exactly, you should not do anything. And we had two. To be honest, we didn't play well. Okay, because we have to admit, we never have to mention just the ref. But there was something strange. To be honest, because we were not that bad. Of course, we were playing. Italy was playing under his possibilities, but we were not that bad, and we lose 2-1. We go to the last game against Mexico.
I remember this one very well. I actually remember drawing down on my notebook, like drawing the Mexico kit, because I really liked it.
True. It was amazing. Yeah, and in that game, we start losing again 1-0. We played bad in comparison to what we could do. And we had other 2 goals disallowed again, and it's always for the same reason. It was like in line, not in line, fuori gioco, not fuori gioco. It was always like a doubt, but
Is it not just a trend with your strikers then that they can't stay on side? Is that what it is?
Exactly.
Especially if you're playing with Inzaghi up front. Exactly. I mean, being a linesman,
that's always a risk. It's always a risk with Inzaghi.
Being a linesman when Inzaghi is playing, it must be hell. It's so difficult to understand, but the majority of the time was offside.
So in the end, we draw 1-1 with Del Piero. We pass with 4 points, which is not a lot, but in Italian history during the World Cup or the group stage, we always do bad. We always pass like at the last second, we draw, or we pass because we score 1 goal more. Nothing new. So yeah.
But one thing that we need to mention, Luca, is that in another group featuring Portugal and one of the home nations of the World Cup, some strange things start happening. Portugal don't make it to the knockout stage, correct? So is there a feeling that things are going a little bit in favor of a certain home team?
See, there is this exactly home team. We need to talk about this because this World Cup, is in Japan and Korea. So not exactly, Brazil or Argentina or Germany or Italy. So not exactly
a country with a lot of football culture, yeah.
Well, this was the start of like Sepp Blatter's mission to like take the World Cup to countries where football wasn't before, right? This is his first attempt to do that, right?
Exactly. They started with these attempts, to share football with everyone in every part of the world, So fascinating, of course, because Japan and Korea, all super modern, all the stadiums, everything was super technological. I remember these stadiums, opening and it was amazing. But at the same time, there was exactly as Tommy said, there were rumors, some rumors that it was a bit embarrassing not to have like the hosting teams passing the groups or being smashed by everyone. There was these rumors, and in fact, we have this first game. Korea against Portugal, the last game of their group, and the first feeling we have, if you check the game now, is that everything was conceded to Korean players. They could do. They were playing really with rage, because of course the quality was not that much, technical skills not that much. So they were compensating like everyone does in football, with
aggressivity,
run, rage, whatever. But everything was considered. So in a game like this, it's easy if you lose your mind to complicate everything. That's what happens to Portugal. I remember the red card to Beto, another red card. So they lost their mind. And consequently they lost the game. So Korea passed to round of 8.
They go through to the knockout stage.
They go through,
but,
exactly.
But there is this aura around Korea that maybe they have bought their way to the knockout stage.
There is something that some help, let's say. Everyone starts to see this. Yeah.
But
and of course,
they had. Sorry, just in that game against South Korea, they had 2 players sent off, right? 2 players sent off.
Portugal,
Yeah.
I will mention a video at the end of this episode that you can look up online, and you will see all of these bad refereeing decisions. And of course, Italy make it to the knockout stage. And who are they going to play, Luca? They're going to play
exactly. So I remember exactly when the draw, Italy against Korea. Now, knowing Italy, if it was Italy against Brazil, I was quiet, relaxed, because Italy, when there are games like this, they do what they have to do. On the other end, when we play with an underdog or with someone that no one cares,
Sweden,
we do
Denmark.
Unbelievable disasters. Exactly. Unbelievable disasters. Also, we have to mention that Korea was nothing new for us, because during the World Cup in the UK in 1966, not everyone knows, but we lost against North Korea, not South, but North Korea, the last game of our group, 1-0. And imagine that even with a draw, we would have passed to the next round. So we lost that game. That still now is remembered as something just the name Korea is like a war for us. This was like losing a war, because it was one of the worst moments, probably even worse than the one that we will tell now.
I read it recently in an article when the Italian national team was playing. They just said, the article just read, l'Italia teme un'altra Corea. Italy are afraid of a new Korea. And if you know the football history, you will know that they're referring to that game in 1966, which was huge in Italy. It was the first time that the Italian national team found themselves losing to a real big underdog. Not even South Korea, North Korea. Damn it.
Yeah. And so you can imagine that with this happening 50 years before, playing against it's never easy to play against the hosting team. With all the things that will happen against Portugal, it was not the best draw. And I remember that the press and everyone, it was really like we were nervous. To be honest, everyone was nervous before the game. I remember, just to mention. Because this game, you have if you like football, you have 2 or 3 games in your life that you never forget, like the most important games in your life. This was one probably the best one in my life, and even one of the most important moments in my life in general, because I remember everything. I remember the day, as you said, with my friends. We went to.
Who were you with? You said you were with Sassa and Corra, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, we were together. We went to Oratorio, which is basically like the area next to the church.
Yeah, it's like in Italy we have these things called oratorio. They're like basically it's where you do activities in the afternoon, and they're all connected to the church. And you guys played football there, right?
We played football together, and there was this giant medium screen where you could see all the games, and we were all there. And I remember, of course, it was during the daytime, and we were all there together. So I remember it was clear. I don't know how to explain, but I personally remember the atmosphere the day before the match, the press. You could really have the feeling that something strange was going on.
I remember I was going to the mountains, to a summer camp in the mountains where I actually worked this summer. And my dad was driving me and my sister there. And he said, shall we stop, have lunch, and watch the game? I think it was around the lunchtime in Italy. And maybe after lunch. And I was in northern Italy, in the mountains. Everybody was drinking grappa. And that is I was at this restaurant with a big open space outside. There was a screen inside, a small screen outside. and I will tell you later what happened. But Luca, please keep going. So this was the atmosphere. Wait, Rory, did you watch this game?
I did watch this game because obviously my dad is quite heavily invested in Italy, with him convincing himself he's Italian. So we did watch it, and my dad was also incredibly infuriated by the end of this game, and I'm pretty sure still holds a grudge against the nation and peoples of South Korea after this game. I'm almost certain.
Oh, come on, Marco. But Luca, take us to the game. What went down in those 119 minutes of football?
So I remember clearly, like if it was now, the moment when the teams they enter into the field, and there was this stadium completely red, super full of local supporters, and there was this giant line composed by the local supporter. It was again 1966. I remember, it was
the only time in history that South Koreans were like backing, were considering a brotherhood with North Koreans. The only fucking time in history.
This was amazing. I remember it was huge, really huge, and it was like I didn't know about 1966. I was explained, by my grandfather was there, but when I saw this, it was really like intimidating, I have to say. I would never expect that I could be intimidated by South Korean supporters, but this was really like all red with this again 1966. It was a shock.
Well, spoiler alert, South Korea would keep going in the World Cup, and I remember in the semi-final against Germany, they had swastika banners. they were, South Korean fans went tiny bit too far in that World Cup. Do you remember the swastikas against Germany? You don't remember that?
I remember.
Yeah, you've just triggered a memory that I'd completely forgotten. Yeah.
Everything was permitted. Everything was permitted during those games. During that World Cup, everything was legit for them.
But later on, Trapattoni would say, because here comes the real protagonist of this story, that referee Byron Moreno from Ecuador shook the hands of all South Korean players before the game, but refused to do so with the Italian players. Did he know what would happen? Most likely. But so, national anthems, we are ready. Knockout stage. Italy, one of the biggest national teams in the world, one of the most important ones, of the most victorious ones, take on South Korea away from home in the South Korean den. The game starts off at extremely high intensity. And Luca, what happens right away?
This thing of the ref, of course, we will talk about him. It was really funny because I remember that after the two games in the group, I remember that FIGC basically is our institution for football. They said like for the 8 finals, send someone like with an international experience. And they said, and FIFA sent Byron Moreno. as a response, FIFA sent Byron Moreno. This was already amazing to begin with. And I remember his face. I don't know why, but the camera were always.
Of course, we dreamt about that fucking face for so long. I remember it clearly.
Exactly. It was like a horror movie. It was like always the same in every situation, in every moment of the game. It was always the same. He never looked tired or hungry or disturbed by something. Always the same face. It was really like a nightmare. You could not even talk to him because he was always the same. And of course, I said the game starts. The intensity is amazing. And just to begin with, I remember first. I think it was minute number 2 or 3, something like that. First foul.
Fourth minute.
Coco, first foul, immediately yellow card. Ball in the middle, penalty immediately. After, when not even 1 second of hesitation. Penalty in the middle, penalty. Ball in the middle, penalty.
And if you check the highlights, it was not a penalty.
Never. Exactly. It was one of those moments that you have, especially with Italy, you have phases of game like this, like 10 times per game. So
penalty. But who is in goal for
of course,
Italy?
I said exactly. Of course, we said our team was amazing. We had Gianluigi Buffon. He was in a super moment. He denies. It was Anne, remember this name, Anne taking the penalty, because we were already talking in another episode about him.
We talked about him in the last time you were on, right?
He used to play for Perugia. He knew Italian players very well. He takes the penalty, but Buffon saves. So you can imagine after 4 minutes, you're just like, what the fuck is going on? The referee gave away a penalty. We saved it. Come on. We needed to score. And we managed. And
I remember that, after that, Italy, the shock was huge. But after that, more or less, we react. I remember that we don't play that good, but there is Vieri, again, scoring on a corner kick. And I remember, this is another thing I remember. He scores and he shuts up all the Korean supporters. This was amazing, with everyone like shouting at him.
With his finger in front of his nose. Yeah.
Exactly, with his finger. 1-0, the feeling was like, it will be tough, but we can do it. 1-0 now. Italy 1-0. Then we wait a bit, and then when we have another chance, we can score, and we'll go on like this. The thing is that, again, the game was, if you see all Korean games, they were all the same. I mean, everything was legit for them. So every foul, Byron Moreno was never stopping the game.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if you lose your mind in a game like this, and I think we had the right players to be trapped by this situation, because we had Mark Giuliano, Gattuso, Di Livio, Coco. All these players were very, very easily could get triggered. Could get a yellow card or red card very, very easily. So we were not smart.
And I remember, this is one thing that I remember clearly. So sometimes you watch a football game and you're super nervous. I'm thinking about when I watch Inter Milan, or when I watch an important Italy game, like the European Championship final, which Italy won against England this summer, just because we had to say it. But when I watch these games, I'm so emotionally invested that then when I see the players, they can perform, I say, wow, there is really a difference between the way I perceive it and the state of mind of these players who are super cool and they can perform. That was the one game that I've seen in my life where the players were carrying the emotions of an entire nation on the pitch. I remember everybody was nervous. The refereeing calls were extremely controversial. It felt like any foul on Italy wouldn't be called, but you just simply needed to put your hand on the shirt of a Korean player and you risked a yellow card. So the tension already was growing steadily throughout the first half, despite us winning 1-0. Do you recall this, Luca? Can you
of
relate?
course, it was really tense, and you could really have there was always like the feeling that something was going to happen. So it was really like there were no really dangers, but like every moment could be like the decisive one. Of course, in a game like this, when it's 1-0, you don't score the second one. Italy was there. Yeah.
You're playing in Korea against Korea, so it's all part of that.
It's difficult.
And then the second half starts, and I remember that in the second half, it was not a football game anymore. It went beyond. It was not football.
Yeah, it was war. Everything was permitted. I remember like there was like I can't remember the name, but like we had like several players injured.
Yeah,
really bad.
So I'm reading from Wikipedia. Francesco Coco would end up the game with concussion. Gianluca Zambrotta would be injured after that game because he received an awful tackle. Del Piero, I remember this clearly. As the game was stopped, Del Piero received an elbow on his face by a Korean player, and this was not addressed by anybody. And finally, Paolo Maldini, I remember this too. He got kicked in the face with the ball way over to the other side of the pitch. And again, this was not sanctioned. But there was this difference that anytime an Italian just like shouldered a Korean player, that would be a free kick for Korea. It was war. Yeah, I remember that it wasn't a football game anymore.
Exactly. It was war. And but the thing is that this was a good team. So even if all these things we mentioned, we arrived to the very end of the game because we resist. We arrived at the very end of the game,
and we missed a few chances too.
We missed few chances to close the game, to be 2-0. And then at minute 87, I remember Seoul scoring. And this, again, we have to mention, this is our mistake. Because if you see the Panucci mistake, it was really bad. It basically was a gift. It was a gift. So 1-1. And I have to be honest, when I remember when they scored 1-1, I don't know why, but I had the feeling that this was the goal that we wouldn't make it.
Sentenced us to
that's
not
the
going
chance they needed, though, isn't it? I think that's
exactly.
the chance they needed to be like, we're back in the game now, right? Let's go. Like,
So with the 1-1, I don't know. The feeling was not. I was not feeling comfortable. Of course, there was no Byron Moreno mistake. This was our mistake. We have to mention it because being a bit more focused, I think we could have won the game.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the thing. It's like in the end, and I'm just going to mention that I watched a very good Netflix special called Bad Sport, and there is one episode about the Calciopoli scandal in Italy. And what Moggi argues, he was the Juventus sporting director. He says the message that he tries to deliver, which is nonsense to me, is that number one, everybody was fixing games in Italy, and number two, he said, the decision of a referee to give a yellow card to somebody is not going to influence the game. I kind of get what he says in a very slimy way, which is Byron Moreno did not allow a goal that was offside, for example, but he created the perfect atmosphere for South Korea to win that game. We were mentioning off mic, Luca, you want to talk about the Trapattoni's reactions to some of the fouls?
See, because now we go to extra time. And this is where everything happens because, extra time. So if we were nervous before, imagine being extra time and there was, again, this golden goal.
Bullshit.
What
do you call it? Golden goal bullshit.
Okay. And during the extra time, now we have to talk about the two main characters of our story, which are Byron Moreno and Giovanni Trapattoni, because Byron Moreno does there in the extra time. He does everything. I remember he disallowed a goal, completely regular
for Tommasi.
Scored by Tommasi. Then there was this situation that there could be a penalty for Italy, but even if it's not a penalty, don't give the yellow card for simulation. He gives yellow card to Totti, so red. It was the second one, and then it is a red card.
And that's the moment, going back to the beginning, when a man sitting at the bar where I was watching the game drank his grappa and absolutely pitched the glass towards the wall and it shattered. And in that moment, I remember my dad getting me and my sister like this, like, okay, boys, okay, boy and girl, we're going to stay here all together. Don't worry. Everything is going to be fine. That second yellow on Totti was harsh to see, very harsh.
See, this was really like ridiculous. And, it was really bad. It was really like a pain because every moment every minute was passing, there was like the feeling that it was going worse and worse and worse. During all these things that we said, Giovanni Trapattoni, which was our coach, Giovanni Trapattoni is a legend. Even at an international level, he won 23 trophies, imagine, during his life. 20 feet. He, at an international level, I think he's still for sure he's in the top 10 of the coaches who won most 100%, trophies. Yeah. And, Trapattoni is like a father for us. He's like the man that everyone loves. And also because his reactions, he's very typical. And during all the game, he was with this little bottle of Acqua Santa, from Medjugorje or from Lourdes. He was because he's very religious. And
a bottle of holy water. He had a bottle of
holy water. and he was spraying this holy water everywhere because he's very religious and he really believes in this. This was amazing. And I remember that after the second yellow card to Totti, there was this behind the bench. There was this plexiglass separating the
bench. Yeah, the bench.
Exactly. And there were some FIFA representatives there. And Trapattoni was completely furious. Before he kicked like some bottle of water and they into the field, imagine. And then he went to the plexiglass and he started like to punch it, like, oh, you see what is happening. And I remember the
FIFA representatives.
The FIFA representative doing like this, like, man,
opening their arms and being like,
there's nothing we can do.
We've already fixed the game. It's too late now. It's
too late. See, yeah, this was it, and it was really like in that moment. I remember we still had another chance. We got Gattuso, unbelievable chance. The goalkeeper was very good. But just to mention that again, as said, Moreno, whatever you want. But we had the chances to close the game. We had many chances to win. We had many chances. We were just so nervous and not and imprecise, and we were not smart enough to be quiet and play with the ball. I think because doing Korean game, playing like they played, we were not at their level. And also there was Byron Moreno, and here we go to the golden goal, which by the way is another big mistake if you check by Maldini. This is a big mistake by Paolo Maldini that in that period he was not even letting pass his mother. So imagine being against Anne who scored golden goal. It was a good goal, to be honest. But there is another big mistake from us. So
I feel like But I feel like those mistakes happen when you're in this game where you feel like, or you can see that everything's going against you. It must be very difficult to concentrate and be like, right, okay, come on, game face. When you've just seen like all this madness around you, I think you can kind of like Tommy said about creating the atmosphere for all of this to happen. Like,
yeah, you set the stage, and also I remember Paolo Maldini, of course, probably the greatest defender Italy has ever seen, together with Baresi and the likes. But Maldini also had a mistake in the goal that France equalized with in the 2000 European Championship in the final against France. We were up 1-0, and then Maldini made a little mistake, the one mistake that he made in the entire competition, and France would draw the game and eventually win it. But Luca, the question is, did Anne celebrate? Because he used to play in Italy, right? He knew everybody who was on the pitch. Did he enjoy that moment? Did he celebrate in a contained way, or what did he do?
I think yeah, exactly. He was playing. Said in the other episode, he was playing in Italy. He was basically
he lost his job because of that goal.
He lost his job. He ruined his career because of this. But you can imagine you score a golden goal in a World Cup against Italy
in front of your fans.
Everyone went crazy there. I remember.
I'm sorry. I need to jump in. You can't say he over celebrated. He's just scored a winner in an extra time. Like it doesn't matter where he plays. It doesn't matter what country he plays in. You'd go mad. Like of course you would.
But also, it's very the Italian reaction to that is very Italian. Like you fucking celebrated against us. We're gonna fire you now. You piece of shit.
That's it. I think only the Italians would expect to be like, hey. You work in our country, don't celebrate. Like only the Italians would react that way.
But it was crazy, and I remember Maldini's face. But I don't know how to explain it. But I was expecting that goal. You know, when you suffer, and you're just waiting for the end. You're just like, okay, enough, whatever. And this is what happened. And I remember golden goal, and I remember our voice Bruno Pizzolo is like, okay, done. We are home.
È tutto finito.
All done.
Yeah, I remember we were talking about this commentator earlier, and I remember he was very good with words. Like he spoke perfect Italian with a perfect diction and everything. And at a point, he wanted to probably say, "Fuck this referee, this game is fixed." And he went, "Questo è proprio brutto da vedere. It's really ugly to see." But he didn't. Again, he didn't really take any side. He just said, "This is awful to see." But Italy are out, and I remember Italy. This is another clear memory that it looked like, I don't know, the aftermath of a World War II battle. Like the players were like limping towards the referee to argue with him. There was Coco with this big like headband on his head and like blood like leaking through. People who couldn't walk. people who were screaming, Trapattoni, one of the chillest men on earth, being carried away by his assistants. It was absolute madness.
See, there was a bit of everything, but also I remember immediately you had the feeling, even in Italy, in Milan, that this was like something like really an event to remember, a day to remember. You could really see that from that moment we would talk about Correa and Moreno and 2002 for ages, forever. Everyone was talking about this. The TG, the news, the fucking newspapers, for hours, for days, for weeks, everything. I remember the whole World Cup. Basically, there are other games, there is the final, there is everything. Nothing. It was just this. And still now, the word Korea, if you mention Korea in Italy, 90% of the people they talk about Byron Moreno, they don't know about war or where it is.
Fuck Squid Game. It's all about Byron Moreno.
This was something like really, really, really huge. I remember even at school, we were at the scuole medie. Even like female professors were mentioning this. So imagine it was really like something like.
I remember.
Guys, yeah.
I remember a classmate of mine in middle school. His name was Paolo. Is Paolo, I believe he's still alive. And he had kind of like Asian-looking eyes, and but he was 100% Italian. And the joke would go on for 3 years that he was actually an undercover Korean at our school, he was a guy with a great sense of humor, but it was just like, he's a Korean.
To Italy.
Welcome to Italy, right? Racism since an early age. But guys, I really recommend you go online, you type on YouTube, Korea Scandal 2002, and you will find a video with the soundtrack from Requiem for a Dream, which is one of the grimmest movies I've ever seen. That talks about
intense
all
music, right?
that talks about all of the refereeing scandals at the World Cup 2002, because then they happened again against Spain in the quarterfinals. So in this clip, you see everything that happened against Portugal, against Italy, and against Spain. And if you started this video with the benefit of the doubt, I can guarantee you that you will finish watching it saying this was all fixed. And in fact, in 2015, thank you, America, the FBI, together with another American department, they investigated over what FIFA had done over the years, and they basically confirmed that Korea had been highly favored in this tournament to go until the semifinal, where they met Germany, and the Germans don't fall for that shit. They beat them 1-0, went to the final. Yes, Rory?
So I'm going to put us all on the spot here and say, so now we know that match fixing has happened within FIFA and the World Cup. What do we think the odds are? Where are Qatar going to get in the next World Cup?
Qatar,
third, fourth place playoff, semi-finalist. What do we think?
I think for sure they will pass the group.
Undoubtedly. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And I think that Italy are going to be in the same group as Qatar. That would be fun.
That's the thing. It would be a nightmare to not to face them in the group, but to pass the group and to face them in the
knockout
round. Yeah, that's scary.
This I can already imagine. I can already imagine Italy Qatar in finals or something like that. Yeah.
But I just wanted to say one last thing about this before we say goodbye to you and we jump to the quiz. I just want to say that European Championship 2000, we lose France draw at the very last minute in regular time, and then we lose at the golden goal. 2002, we lose against a Korea that was fixing pretty much every game that they were playing. 2004, we had that horrible European Championship. We got out of the group stage with Totti spitting on Poulsen's face. I think that these three experiences really fueled all those players in 2006 to the final World Cup victory. They were like, we're sick of this shit. Like, let's fucking play football. Let's play the way we know it. Let's fucking get this cup and fuck off.
You have to believe that it's all for something, right?
Exactly.
You have to believe that it's all for something. Otherwise, it's just three wasted tournaments.
It's in our history to do shit, completely shit, and then to win. So
it's true. It's true. You miss on the World Cup and then you win the Euros.
Yeah.
Try your history being to just be shit consistently. Try that being your history. You don't win, you're just shit.
But just to conclude, our friend Byron Moreno, because the story is very long. Byron Moreno, his career is amazing, because if you see what he did after this is nothing compared to what he did after, because we have plenty of moments, we have a lot of moments where he basically did whatever he wanted. So as we know, he was famous also. He was the ref in the championship match between Liga de Quito and Barcelona Sporting Club
in Ecuador.
In Ecuador, in his country. And imagine that in that game he gave 13 minutes of extra time in order to let the team scoring the necessary goal. And after that, he was I think he was suspended forever
for 20 matches. For 20
matches. And this is amazing. Imagine after this, because he was such a star. He was a star. Everyone knows him. He was invited in Italy in a TV show which is Ballando con le Stelle, Ballando sotto le Stelle. I don't remember the name.
Dancing with the Stars. I
exactly.
didn't know this.
He was invited there. You can find in YouTube to dance, to be there, just because he was so famous that everyone, imagine in Italy the ignorance because they knew that within the share would have been like over the top, super high. So they invited him. And he was basically dancing or doing stupid stuff, stupid games and this. And then we end up with the jewel of 2010,
the cherry on top of the cake.
Exactly, the very best moment. He was arrested. He was arrested because he was trying to enter the US with 6 kilos of heroin. Under his body, under the jacket or something like that. So imagine the level of, ignorance.
This just tells you about the character. After you do fuck all at a World Cup, you don't understand that probably you should stop getting like bribes and shit.
Keep your head low for a bit. Keep your low profile.
No, right away. He goes back to Ecuador, fixes matches, and then he's like, I'm banned from football. Let's try with hard drugs in the United States. Like the one country. And it's not any drug and any country. It's fucking heroin in the United States of America. He was sentenced to jail and he would end up being released almost 1 year later. He served 26 months in prison and then he returned to Ecuador. That's the story, ladies and gentlemen, of the big Byron Moreno scandal during Italy-Korea at the 2002 World Cup. Rory and Luca, anything to add before we jump to the quiz?
Just one last thing. I live in Spain, so I had the chance to talk, with Spanish people about Byron Moreno because, as said during the quarterfinals, there was something, I think, even worse than what happened to Italy. And Byron Moreno, they know, but there's not the same level of persecution. In Italy, really, Byron Moreno is, I think, as famous as the Pope. Absolutely. Here, not as much, but for us, it was really like a name that I think even if I will have Alzheimer at the late stage of my life.
You'll forget your kids' names, but remember his.
Exactly. The last thing I will forget is his name or the face.
What about you, Rory? Anything else to wrap this up?
Well, I think it's something that we've talked about before. Italians love a football conspiracy theory, so it doesn't surprise me that he's more of a public enemy number one in Italy than in Spain. But I just enjoyed looking back on this tournament, despite it being a pretty grim game. I think it was the first tournament that I really, really enjoyed. 2002. I thought it was a great tournament, and awesome. Even if England did go out, it was a really, really great tournament. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Luca. We will catch up with you in November for another special episode about Italian football history. Thank you for being with us, man.
Thank you, guys. Always a pleasure. Ciao.
Well, there we go, Tommy. I hope you have managed to calm down from the 2002 World Cup. Do you reckon you've calmed down yet? Are you over it yet?
No, I'm actually going back to it really stirred up some old memories once again. And the face of the referee, Byron Moreno, you can just type his name on Google. You can find him. He just winds me up automatically. And I feel, well, you've heard it already, but I feel extremely bad for Trapattoni because I think Trapattoni deserved to do well in an international competition with Italy. But whatever. That's the way it went down, at least right now.
You lose some, especially when FIFA are involved. Yeah, 20
years later, we look back at it. Well, we were able to look back at it with a smile on our face, ready to share some banter with our listeners. But Rory, it's time for the quiz, and you decided to go really hard on yourself. Do you want to remind our listeners what's the topic you've chosen?
I've made many terrible decisions in my life, but a few of them have been over the past couple of weeks and the topics I have chosen to test myself on. This week, it is the Championship.
The Championship, Rory. So doing research on this gave me a headache 2 minutes into it. So right now it's called the Sky Bet Championship, all right?
Mm-hmm.
But before it was called the League One Football First Division. Then it was called the Second Division. And so I was like, Rory, look, my questions, I've worded them perfectly, at least I hope. But I'm going to specify, especially when we're talking about the Sky Bet Championship that started in 2004. Before starting to record the episode, I did warn Rory. I said, Rory, if I were you, I would take 2 minutes because the questions are very surface, but they seem, at least to me, they seem very tough. Rory, have you listened to my advice or not?
I had a quick meditation session on the Championship, tried to gather the information that I know in the back of my brain. I feel like I could try and win this season by being sensible, but I'm trying to score like a back heel goal all the time by picking ridiculous topics. I don't know. So we'll see. I think I'm ready.
The score is currently Rory 13, Tommaso 10. Rory, I propose that we get to 20 and then we change the quiz. What do you think?
On air admin. I like it. Yeah, let's do it.
First player who gets to 20 points is the winner. All right, Rory, are you ready to start?
Well, it's time for me to get all 7 right and end this game then, right?
All 7 right. So 1 minute of time, 7 questions about the Sky Bet Championship in England. We are going to start in 3, 2, 1, go. On the year of its start in 2004-2005, only 3 European leagues had a higher total attendance than the Sky Bet Championship. Can you name these 3 leagues?
Premier League, La Liga, Serie A.
Wrong. 5 clubs have won the 2 championships since 2004. Can you name 3?
2. Okay, Norwich, Reading, Newcastle?
Yes, correct.
Oh!
Which team celebrated their 1000th win in second-level league football in January 2011?
Preston.
Wrong. In 2016 and in 2017, the championship top goal scorers were not European players. Can you guess one of the 2 countries of origin?
Salomon Rondon. Venezuela?
Wrong. Which of these teams is currently not in the championship? Peterborough United, Rotherham United, Preston North End.
Rotherham.
Correct. Which of these players has recorded a higher goal tally in a single championship season? Ivan Toney, Glenn Murray, or Daryl Murphy?
Glenn Murray.
Wrong. Which manager, still active by the way, detains the record for most Manager of the Month awards since 2004 in the championship?
Neil Warnock.
Correct. You get 3 points, Rory. Holy fucking shit. This is impressive, Rory. Good job.
Oh, I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I feel like I did all right there. I'm still a bit annoyed about 1 or 2 of them, but yeah.
All right, 16. Rory, Tommy still at 10, but let's go through the answers again. On the year of its start in 2004-2005, only 3 European leagues had a higher total attendance than the Sky Bet Championship. Can you name them? So the Sky Bet Championship had 9.8 million total spectators, behind only Premier League, La Liga, and Bundesliga.
Bundesliga. The second I said Serie A, I was like, that's just our pod bias. That's
No. And
assuming,
Serie A is known for very low attendance, especially, low attendance at games. 5 clubs have won 2 championships since 2004. Can you name 3? You are correct. Newcastle, Norwich City, Reading, Sunderland, and Wolverhampton as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got the other 2. No way I would have got the other 2.
Okay, which team celebrated their 1000th win in second level league football in January 2011? Sorry. In January 2011, they did so with a 2-1 win at home versus Coventry. Can you guess who they are?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of the team that's always been in the championship.
It's actually the team with the most championship appearances ever.
Derby.
It's Barnsley.
Oh,
God, Barnsley.
Oh my God, right.
In 2016 and in 2017, the championship top goal scorers were not European players. Can you guess one of the 2 countries of origin? We are talking about Andre Gray for Burnley, who scored 25 from Jamaica, and Chris Wood for Leeds United, who scored 27. Do you remember where he was from?
He's from New Zealand, right?
New Zealand. I was very surprised to see that.
I want to explain my Venezuela answer. I was going for Salomon Rondon. I don't want to just Venezuela wasn't just picked out the air. Yeah.
Which of these teams is currently not in the championship? You were right, Rory. It's Rotherham United that were relegated last season, while Peterborough United and Preston North End are both currently in the championship. Which of these players has recorded a higher goal tally in a single championship season? It was Ivan Toney for Brentford. In 2020,
I should have gone for the obvious one.
In 2020-2021, which was last season, he recorded 31 goals, which was a record since 2004. Glenn Murray scored 30 for Crystal Palace in 2012-2013, and Daryl Murphy scored 27 for Ipswich Town in 2014-2015. And finally, holy shit, you were like, I'm not going to guess this one, but you did. Which manager still active detains the record for most Manager of the Month awards since 2004? It was Neil Warnock with 11. How did you come up with this name?
Well, I think the fact that he's basically Warnock, what he does is he gets teams promoted, then gets fired within 2 months of being in the Premier League. So I think he's always in the Championship. So therefore, just law of odds, I think. Plus, he's a pretty good manager at that level, Neil Warnock. Yeah, he does all right.
Beautiful. Good job, Rory. You're leading currently the standings at 16. I'm still at 10. My topic for next week is going to be Champions League, man. It's going to be the Champions League from when it became the Champions League. So I believe in 1992 or something.
That's not a good start. Yeah. Right.
I believe because before it was the Champions Cup and then it became the Champions League. But beautiful. Guys, I have nothing more to tell you except that you can follow us on Twitter at Italian Anglo-Pod. You can follow us on Instagram at Anglo-Italian Pod. And you should also follow our sponsor at Sports Club Maps, both on Twitter and on Instagram. Guys, these months have been very, very busy, especially with work. For us teachers, it's kind of difficult to get back into the working schedule and everything. But don't worry, we are trying to be more on top of our shit. But follow all of our accounts, our sponsors. We're going to do more giveaways. We're going to do more things. So just stay tuned, and all these beauties are going to come your way. I'm going to leave it to Rory to send you off with our customary quote.
Thank you very much. So I'll quote this week ahead of the Derby d'Italia. We have Bonucci has said that Inter won the Scudetto simply because Juve were less competitive than usual. Well, Arturo Vidal has clapped back and said, we face off on Sunday night. Let's see who's actually the stronger team. Enjoy your weekend, guys.